Hey guys, welcome back to the studio for another lesson. This week, we're going to be examining a core element of the bebop sound. Specifically, we'll explore using Barry Harris's rules for dominant scales combined with both 8th note and 16th note triplets. I'll show you guys some exercises that are just running down an F7 scale using these different concepts to give you an idea of how the half-step rules apply when including a triplet. And then we'll take a look at some of the different ways we can practice inserting a triplet into a descending scale run. To wrap things up, we'll go over a few examples of how we might practice inserting this language into a phrase over 2/5 in the key of B flat. You guys ready? Let's get started. A while back, I showed you guys how to use Barry Harris's rules for descending scale lines to add chromaticism to your solos and keep chord tones on the beat. Now, one thing we didn't really spend a whole lot of time on in that video was playing triplets in conjunction with the rules. Today, I want to really dig in on this concept with you since pretty much any bebop solo you've ever heard uses this little bit of language. To start things off, we're going to go through the entire F7 scale using the rules in a descending run from every scale note. In this exercise, though, we're going to play an 8th note triplet right on the downbeat, which is going to change what rule we'll need to use. So for this exercise, we'll use the rule for the note that lands on the beat after the triplet. And in this case, that means using the rule for the scale note that lands on beat 2. Now, check out how it sounds now. These kinds of sounds should be super familiar if you're a fan of Bud Powell or Charlie Parker's playing. But what's even more evocative of their sound would be doing these scale runs, but starting out with a 16th note triplet. So this next exercise is going to be kind of similar to the last one. We'll start out with a 16th note triplet, and then, just like before, run down the scale using the rule for the note that lands on the beat. Now, take a listen to how that sounds. It's all well and good to practice these things starting right on the downbeat, but we should also spend some time exploring how things change when we start on a different part of the bar and when we put the triplet on a different beat. In this next exercise, we're going to start a run on beat 2 and then run down using the rules, putting a triplet on beat 4. Then once we cross the bar line, we'll keep descending using the rule for the note that lands on the beat. Now, check out how that works. In the PDF for today's lesson, you can find a whole bunch more exercises just like this that are designed to help you work out using the half-step rules in conjunction with triplet lines. In the next section, we're going to start using this stuff in a way that'll get us closer to playing more natural sounding phrases. Before we get to that, though, I need to give a quick shout out to TrueFire.com for supporting the channel. TrueFire is an online lesson library that's host to literally thousands of courses on a wide range of musical topics from some really amazing artists and educators, including yours truly. If you're interested in improving your comping, make sure to check out my course, Exploring Melodic Jazz Comping, available on TrueFire now. In this course, I'll demonstrate and break down 17 essential comping approaches using TrueFire's interactive learning tools. We'll work on a colorful variety of melodic and harmonic approaches using drop 2 voicings, chord substitutions, approach chords, diminished concepts, and voice leading. We'll also dive into triadic approaches, partial chords, using scales as chords, and the art of borrowing notes and dominants. You'll learn how these melodic comping approaches can be artistically applied using backing tracks based on the changes to popular jazz standards, like Autumn Leaves, There Will Never Be Another You, and All the Things You Are. The link to the course is in the description of this video. Now let's get back to the lesson and see how we can use these types of exercises to build towards playing more natural sounding bebop lines. When we're starting to work on improvising phrases using these concepts, especially as we move towards faster and faster tempos, it's important to remember that we don't always need to play something complicated. Sometimes it's really effective to just run up a scale and then see where it takes you. To help you out with this, I'll show you another exercise from the PDF for this week's lesson. This time, we'll run up the scale from each note, starting on beat 2, before playing an 8th note triplet and then running back down using the rules. To finish the phrase off, we'll either use an enclosure or an arpeggio to resolve into the tonic. Check out how that sounds now. In the PDF for this week's lesson, there's a bunch more material like this to help you work on incorporating triplets into your lines. Most of it's centered around using these sounds over a long 2-5-1, where both the 2 and the 5 get 1 bar apiece. This next exercise, however, is a great example of how we can work this stuff out over a short 2-5-1. We'll start on the and of 1 and then play a 16th note triplet and run down the scale using the rules before playing an enclosure or an arpeggio to resolve into the tonic and finish the phrase. Check out how that sounds now. There's lots of other ways we could potentially use these ideas in the context of a short 2-5-1 like this, but in this case we didn't get a whole lot of time to use the descending rules before we needed to resolve. Now, to wrap things up for today, I want to show you a couple of more fully realized phrases that use these ideas in a way that really closely reflects some things that I play all the time in my own solos. Both of these can be played over a 4-bar 2-5-1, or, as we'll hear in just a second, over a 2-5-1-3-6 progression. Check out how they sound now. Thanks so much for sticking around all the way to the end of today's video. Let me know down in the comments what you guys thought of the lesson. Thanks to patron Sean Lepore for suggesting the topic for this week's video. I really hope you guys enjoy this material and find it helpful in making your lines sound more natural and in line with the bebop sound. As always, if you did find today's lesson helpful, make sure you give the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet, and hit that bell for notifications too. If you want access to the PDF for today's lesson, you can grab that, along with the whole back catalog for all the videos on the channel for as little as $10 a month over at my Patreon page, or by just hitting the join button right here on YouTube. A special thanks goes out to Ben John, Ron Maestas, Vladimir Zarate, Gary Duranow, Juan Domingue, Alf Collins, and Daniel Alvarenga for being studio fans. I really appreciate the support. An extra special thanks goes out to these studio members for their support as well. Brandy Weinstein, Declan McGowan, Ken Papa, Robert Gannon, Daniel Rogers, Gavin Williams, Moniz Dawood, Brian Roxas, Edward Ellis, Klebs, Jiangpeng Ju, Joseph Ng, Chris Tondra, Chandler Zachary, Anthony DeChico, Darren Lund, Bertrand Chesnay, Andy, Paul Murin, Martin Vigers, Thomas Clichafare, S. Bruce 1234, Mark Eslick, Robert Berlin, Robert Cody, Carol, Vaughn Davis, Louis Maiden, T. Colston, Adam Wright, Raymond DeGloro, James Seabury, Bill Benfield, Sean Lepore, Apollos Jolivert, Justin Fisher, David Wertman, Aldo Fonseca, Artie Sanchez, Louis Rosen, Stephen Prager, Everton Armstrong, Stephen Schwartz, Max Irwin, David Zuckerbraun, and PH. An extra special thanks to Jazz Luminaire patrons Bill Jacob and Stephen White. Thank you guys all so much for your continued support. I'm David Shore, and thanks again for hanging with me at the studio today. I'll see you guys next time.